submissions. Of course, they will have another bite on Friday in response to the respondents' submissions. And at the same time, almost contemporaneously, you can see a tallying process taking place at Milimani. And what we expect is that once the tallying is done within 48 hours, as per the directions and orders of the Supreme Court, we expect the Deputy Registrar or Registrar of the Apex Court to prepare a report and file it before the Supreme Court for consideration.
And after the report is written, what margin of error do we have, if at all there is any error?
Yes, that issue was captured in one of the issues that were framed by the court in electoral matters. When the margin of error is too small to affect the overall outcome of our results, that may be ignored, and the judgment may proceed to confirm the elections, or rather to validate it. However, there are many other issues other than the errors in counting and all that. There are other issues that have been tendered by the petitioners. Another thing I would like to mention is that we expect a lot of issues to arise as per Article 138, subsection 3C, which essentially places electoral process on IEBC. For instance, at polling stations, the clerks, the IEBC officials are supposed to count, to tally, and to verify. But the announcement is done by the IEBC. That will be considered alongside Article 138, subsection 10, which gives the chairman power to declare the winner. But the winner can only be declared as a result of all the other steps of counting, verification, and so on, and tallying.
And it's a good thing we've brought up the issue of Article 138, because at the end of the day, he will declare, and one of the demands NASA had back then, and it has a reason again, is that if at all, because we have two outcomes that we are expecting as Kenyans, if at all we have to go for a rerun, what happens? They have talked about Chebukati should be held culpable because he did not conduct a free, fair, and credible elections. What if the court goes with that and says, yes, indeed, there were some irregularities and you have to go back to the ballot? Who now conducts that?
Now, that now depends on what happens on Monday after the decision of the court. But so to speak, constitutionally, what we are likely to have is fresh elections. Fresh elections is dissimilar from a rerun. A rerun arises where no candidate is able to garner 50% plus one vote. And what we anticipate is the court to make a finding on validity or invalidity of elections. Of course, among other orders. And one thing that I'd like to inform Kenyans is that the Supreme Court is not bound by previous decisions. Yesterday, we were able to witness the Supreme Court enlarge time for filing various documents because of circumstances. We all know that we are under network challenges, and the Supreme Court was able to consider that and admit late filed documents. In 2013, an attempt by Raila team was rejected by the Supreme Court, and the critical affidavits were struck out. So we have seen a lot of improvement, a lot of departure from the previous findings or decisions of the Supreme Court. But largely, we expect the Supreme Court to adhere to its previous decisions, save for a few improvement here and there. Because one of the main function of the Supreme Court is to develop our jurisprudence, to interpret our laws for societal posterity and the rule of law.
And it's an interesting thing that you've said that the court does not even, the Apex Court does not have to really follow what it had already, or the laws that it has. It can depart from a 2017 decision, 2013, other decisions that it has already made. What really guides it there? Is it the Supreme Court Act, or is it the Constitution?
Yes, our Constitution is very clear. The Supreme Court decisions bind all other courts. That means the Court of Appeal, the High Court, all other bodies, and also subordinate courts. But the decisions of the Supreme Court do not bind the Supreme Court. They can depart. You have seen it in other countries, like USA. The other day, the Supreme Court departed from a very old decision on various aspects. So our Supreme Court is entitled. It has a constitutional mandate to depart from its previous decisions and opinion and jurisprudential, interpretation. However, that must be guided by the principles of the rule of law, the principles of good governance. The constitutionalism must be upheld, because so many things change. A lot of factors affect decisions of court, including the prevailing circumstances that were not envisaged earlier on.
Yes, and we have seen something that we never experienced during the other petitions, the presidential petitions, in even 2017 and even 2013. We have seen observers, some are expertise in matters law because some are retired judges. Are they appearing at the Supreme Court as amici, and what can they do? Can they give their expert opinion, either oral submissions or even written? Or their work is just to observe how the court just to conduct itself?
The observers have no right of audience in court. However, their findings, their reports are very critical for the benefit not only of Kenya, but also for other countries. Remember, this particular petition, as reference, as importance, it will be relied by many other countries. What happens from today on Monday may be cited. Maybe in Angola, where I understand they also face similar issues.
Yes.
And we are, as Kenya, we are quite ahead. Like in Tanzania, once their electoral body declares you the winner, so bad, you're in Asia. You cannot go to any court. There is no court that has jurisdiction to set aside decisions of KBC as far as presidential elections are concerned. So in that respect, we are light years ahead. And you can also see many jurists, former chief justices, many judges of Supreme Court. I've seen someone from the Supreme Court of South Africa, the Elections Court of South Africa. They are present. And I think that is good for us, and we should really say Congole, Hongera to Kenya.
It's more or less like the international community is looking at these experts and observers.
And remember, Kenya is the very first country in the world to have nullification of presidential elections. So in that respect, we are even ahead of our colonial masters.
And still on Angola, because I've been keeping a keen eye on what is happening in Angola, and they have also disputed, the opposition has already disputed the outcome, and of course they have based it on one of the things that Kenya have based it on, the 50+1 vote. It's more or less like it's not quite attainable, and it's has become a subject of discussion, even right here in the country.
Correct.
And Kenya is no exception when it comes to the laws that we made.
Correct.
In Angola, they say that we have hit the 51%. You haven't hit the mark. But it's more or less one of the issues set for determination in terms of how IBC conducted itself. And the numbers do not lie. IBC in its defense talks about we have already put all the Form 34As. So if it's about mathematics, it's just addition. There's no use of logarithms or calculators. But the issue has still cropped up in court again.
Correct. I think our constitution is very ambitious, and it is good for us. When it comes to electoral processes, the process matter because it's not an event. A lot of factors come into play, and there are key terms that will be used by everyone. That is counting, because once we cast our votes, they must be counted. We also have issues of tally, they must be tallied, issues of verification. So the announcement is the end result. And that's one issue that we expect the Supreme Court to address when it comes to, announcing the presidential results by the presidential returning officer, who is Chepkati. But again, you realize under Article 138, subsection 3C, the whole process of counting, verification, and tallying is given to IEBC. They did not mention the chairman there. And therefore, this divided IEBC, where we have 4 out of 7 dissenting with the from the chairman, that is an issue we expect the Supreme Court to make a decision on. If it were maybe the judgment of the Supreme Court and the 4 takes make a decision, that prevails. But for IMBC, it is something we expect the Supreme Court to decide on.
And it's a lacuna in our constitution, because they had never envisaged that we will be in a point where the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission will be a divided lot. Another thing, still on the declaration of the presidential results, the Constitution talks about the chairman being vested with the power to declare and announce the president as an individual or as a commission. Because if it is the chairman of the commission, then it means we have to bring in the other commissioners as well. And unfortunately, we have 4 who are dissenting.
Yes, the Constitution is very clear. The responsibility to announce the presidential winner vests on the commissioner, on the chairman. However, the process, because he must announce results from all the other processes. He cannot just announce results from the blues. These results must emanate from the polling stations, and they must be tallied, they must be verified, they must be counted, and all those issues must be done. And that is the responsibility of IBC as in its entirety, not only the chairman. So that's an issue that will be decided by our good judges. The other point I would like to make is that it is unfortunate for the very first time in history to find undivided IBC making a decision. Even the Kivuito time, we didn't have such serious situations. And globally, the whole world, we have not witnessed such a case, especially the dissenting commissioners being the majority of the team. And that's an issue that appears to be triable, and that we do expect the Supreme Court to make a decision on.
Unfortunately, in 2017, the Apex Court did not make a determination on, you do remember, 4 commissioners exit. Actually, they resigned, citing a number of various issues, threats, security, and even some talking about we are not able to work with this chairman. But unfortunately, 5 years down the line, the same thing has just happened. 4 are dissenting. Yes, they have not resigned just like what they did in 2017, but they're dissenting. This is something that should have been sorted out just before we had our elections, because it's something that happened in 2017. But as we speak now, we still in the same hole where we have 4 dissenting commissioners. In 2017, we had 4 who couldn't work with. They talked about we are not going to be working with, and they resigned, the likes of Akombe.
Yes, you realize that IMBC is an independent organ under our constitution. It is not supposed to take instructions from any person other than itself. And I think the second petitioner has quite expounded on that issue, on how an independent commission failed to implement the judgment of the Supreme Court of 2017, which came up with a lot of recommendations that had to be done. In my view, I think these are the issues that the Supreme Court will be guiding us on, among many other issues that are before the Honorable Court.
And another thing that has really come out of this petition is the mini polls that we had on Monday. Talking about how it affected the numbers, and even giving an example of the constituencies just neighboring, where the 8 electoral constituencies that we did not go to the ballot. That includes the governors and the MPs and the civic. That is something that is cropping up in this petition as well.
Yes, it is cropping up, and I think the court quite ably brought it out very well in framing the issues, whether the suspension of elections in those areas affected voter turnout in those areas against or in favor of any of the candidates. And Feroz has ably brought out that issue before the court for consideration.
And we are really pressed for time, if you ask me, and looking at what we've already done. We have seen even councils having to donate their time to the court to actually ensure that we beat the deadlines. How are we doing on time?
So far, so good. It's only that my senior trying to raise an objection, and the Honorable Chief Justice rightly stopped him from doing so, because to manage time, you must be allowed to speak without any interruption. That was quite good, and I commend the Supreme Court for that. So that nobody shouldn't be interrupted with objections until you finish, you exhaust your 3 hours. Because once your time lapses, the system locks you out automatically. I hope tomorrow we will be witnessing the response. Luckily, they have been given equal time, and on Friday, the petitioners will have a right to respond on points of law that are likely to be raised by the respondents. And there the judges will retire to write and render their judgment on Monday, or judgments. Remember, 4 out of 7 will determine the fate of these petitions. And they may concur. Each judge may write own judgment. They may write one judgment and all that. But decision that will be made by at least 4 judges will carry the day. That is the law.
Yeah, and away from the Supreme Court, but it's something that has appeared in the Supreme Court, is still on the mini polls. And IEBC, and let's go back to the Kriegler reports that talked about election preparedness, at least a year to the general polls. But a couple of days to the election date, some ballot papers were not here yet, and the seriousness in the printing itself has also been challenged, because talking about some of the strongholds of perhaps Azimio or Kenya Kwanza having not to go to the ballot, and IEBC had all the time in the world to ensure that they had corrected this, because at the end of the day, we do not want to have an election and then go to court, because that is exactly what we've been doing. After the election, even if the Supreme Court had already prepared itself for that before even we went to the court. But some of the preparedness by IEBC could save us from having to go to court in each election cycle, and especially when it comes to the printing of the election materials.
Precisely. I concur with you. Our IBC should have been more prepared before to avoid some of these mistakes that we are witnessing. For instance, when wrong ballot papers are taken to Kakamega or any other place, and the fault is on IBC, I think someone should carry such responsibilities. But in my view, the IBC requires a lot of support. Of course, it's a highly explosive office because of the interest, the great public interest that is involved, and also the parties involved, and also the supporters of our various candidates. there have been many court cases that, of course, have affected earlier preparedness. We also have a lot of budgetary constraints. I remember IBC has been complaining that they have been asking for money from the executive, which money has not been forthcoming on time. The staff and many other logistical issues. So as much as we would want to blame the IMBC, there are other government institutions that are also to blame. For instance, when courts give injunctions to stop elections in some areas and lift maybe those injunctions on the towards the tail end of the preparatory period, that will affect a lot of issues when it comes to preparations. And printing papers out of the country again is another problem, because when, for instance, they discover some paper, there is mix-up and all that, to correct that mistake may take at least a week or two. And that's why we have all these confusion in some areas.
Again, let's go to Amicio, the Friends of the Court. And yeah, we have observers who, their work, as you have said, is just to have a look and maybe give their own judgment that will not affect what is going on to the court. What about the Friends of Court, like the ICJ and the Law Society of Kenya, their input?
Yes, they play a lot of, their input is important. For instance, the Law Society, one of our objective is to uphold the rule of law. The ICJ and does the same, and their input is critical to assist the court to make a finding. And that is why the Supreme Court was able to give many parties a chance to participate and also to dismiss other parties. For example, like Mwaure, I was surprised that he wanted to be an interested party, but in his affidavits, he supports the petition in a case where he has also been affected.
Okay, so how does that pan out? Because
it's like now, a player in a football supporting the other team to have a penalty against them. You see? So I think the judges were quick to dismiss his application. Anyway, the judges have powers to enjoin parties. There are other parties who can bring professional input, for example, professors or academicians on electoral matters. And I think two are enjoined, and their input will be considered.
And of course, forensic scientists, perhaps because of the numbers and the technology that has been used. We also saw, still on the same, we also saw Professor George Wajakoya. Petition was also, or prayers application was also thrown
yes,
out.
As one of the presidential candidates, in my view, Professor Wanjakoya was supposed to be given a chance to participate, at least to entertain Kenyans. But again, I understand one of the petition cited him. And if he is cited as a respondent by any of the parties, then constitutionally, legally, he is entitled to participate. But we respect the decision of the Honorable Court, and we must abide by it and move on.
And looking at the petitions that have been have sought, mostly the judges decided actually to collapse the 7 so as also to include others, reject some, and also work well with time. And one of the first things they did during the housekeeping yesterday was to give the rulings that they gave, including what is happening on your screen right now, because we are continuing with the vote retallying and recount and scrutiny of 15 polling stations. That is something that we didn't expect, and that is something that we didn't see in the year 2017.
Yes, the in-house keeping matters are very critical. I was surprised that Honorable Moses Kuria made a petition that, of course, is not entertainable before the Supreme Court at this stage.
Why do you say it's not entertainable?
Because the court has no jurisdiction to entertain such petitions. This is an election petition, so you either go as a petitioner or as a friend or as a respondent. You cannot now file a petition trying to block the petition that is already before court. Those are for other courts. The other parties who trying to bring other issues that have no bearing to the presidential election, again, those were rejected. The other parties who sought to be enjoined as friends of the court. But again, you cannot be a friend of the court. You cannot be an amicus curiae if you are unbiased. You cannot come asking the court to make you a friend when you are supporting one of the parties in the dispute. So those are the issues the court considered. I read their rulings, and they were well reasoned. Some were very, very short. For example, like Moses Kuria's petition was dismissed by just one sentence. And I think Paul Mwangi made a very quick preliminary objection that the petition could not be entertained because the court lacked jurisdiction to entertain it. Yeah.
Meaning
remember,
that
the Supreme Court is an appellate court. It has only original jurisdiction when it comes only to presidential election petitions. So all the other matters,
in short, if
start from the High Court, go to Court of Appeal, then we go back to, as the final arbiter, to the Supreme Court. So,
meaning that if Moses Kuria indeed wants to continue with the petition, then he has to see.
He has to file it before the High Court.
All right. Of course, we are continuing with the live coverage of the Supreme battle at the Supreme Court, and I'm joined here by the constitutional lawyer who happens to be Henry Kurauka, and we are trying to just look at things. Although from the outskirt of the petition, we wouldn't want to delve into what the Honorable Court is currently doing or the merits of the case. Let's first of all have a break, then we'll be right back.
Kupata skiza tune ya mambo mema, dial *811*815#.
Mambo mema huwaendea watu wanaosubiri, ila mambo mema zaidi huwaendea watu wanaoyatafuta. Kupata mambo mema ni kufanikiwa, na kufanikiwa ni kutabasamu, kutafakari na kuhesabu mema na baraka ulizozichukulia hatua, ukazitafuta na kuzipata. Amka, tafuta ufanisi wako.
Kupata skiza tune ya mambo mema, dial *811*815#. *811*815#.
Under the pressure, nothing they can do to stop this music.
This is the last time you'll get away with something like what you did last night, Tobias. You will not have another chance.
I'm not going to beg you, Lionel, never. You are going to give me everything that I want.
I am also a Murat. Your grandpa, Gonzalo Murat, is my dad.
There's no way that I'm going to do what you're asking me. And I would rather die than tell anyone about that secret. I will finally be a free woman and I'll be living with a friend.
I don't care about you and Maya. Unasikia? Tuseme Jackie pale alipo saizi akauawa, itakuwaje?
Mari amekufa! Safari!
Kuja kufuata ushauri kwa dadangu. Sitaki kusutwa.
sitaki chakula changu kiletwa na gaidi, sitaki.
Mficha uchi azai, na ndio maana nimekuita hapa nipate ushauri wako.
Wewe ndio moyo wangu. Wewe ndio life of my love.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii ya joking kwa simu yako, bonyeza *811 *758 hash.
Good morning, class.
Good morning, Mr. Kipto.
Now I want to try the composition using the word jogging.
Teacher, please give us spelling for the word jogging.
Sijasema jog ile jog ya kunyongwa. Hapana. Ninasema jogging. Na sijasema jog ile nje unasema jog ya kukimbia ya marathon ama ile jog ingine ile jog ya television ya kucheka. Sijasema hiyo jogging. Na maanisha jogging your brain ile kukimbiza akili changamoto. That composition using the word jogging.
Ili kupata skiza tune hii, bonyeza *811 *758 hash *811 *758 hash.
Welcome back to our live coverage of the Supreme Battle at the Supreme Court, where the Raila Odinga and Martha Karua petition is being heard by a 7-judge bench. And we are done with the morning sessions after the submissions by the eloquent judges. And now let's cross over to the Supreme Court, where Serafina Robi has been keeping a keen eye on the morning session and brings us this report. Serafina, good afternoon.
From the Milimani Law Courts, whereby the Supreme Court is sitting to listen or to hear the presidential election petition, given that the pre-trial conference concluded yesterday. Then today, the hearing kicked off in the morning at about 9 a.m. with the petitioners taking the first step to make their submissions, and some of the 5 lawyers representing the petitioners, the first petitioners in the consolidated petition, who included James Orengo, who was leading a group of 5 lawyers representing Raila Odinga as well as Martha Karua, just bringing out some of the issues that led to the filing of the petition disputing the presidential results that were declared on the 15th of August. Key among them were discrepancies that were noted in regards to the tallying, verification and transmission of results, pointing out that there were a number of discrepancies that were noted, saying that in regards to a communique that was issued by the chairperson of the IEBC, who is Wafula Chebukati, they were able to note that on the 9th of August at around 16 hours that the chair came out and gave a communique saying that there will be a low turnout of voters of about 52% of the registered voters. And later on the 10th of August, the chair again came out to say that so far, the turnout that had been registered of the number of voters that are registered was about 65.4%, which translates to about 14,466,779 voters, saying that this number was expected to rise. But contrary to this, what was noted later on was that the number of voters that were recorded were about 14,213,137 voters, which is contrary to a communication that had been issued by the chair, Wafula Chebukati, saying that this then led to them questioning the results that had been announced. Also key in some of the results that had been announced was that they were able to point out a number of polling stations whereby also the numbers did not match with what was being announced, and one of the places that they were able to mention was a polling station in Chapalungu, whereby they say that the number of votes that had been registered or noted down in forms 34A was that Raila Odinga had gotten 61 votes, but in the form that was uploaded, Raila Odinga is noted to have gotten just 1 vote. And for William Ruto, then allege that the 60 votes were then added to William Ruto, since the number of votes that had been noted in the physical form 34A was about 109 votes, but the number of votes that were uploaded into the KIMS kit were 169 votes. Then this, they say, that supports their claims or their grounds that a number of votes are being taken from Raila Odinga and being added to William Ruto, whereby the only thing that was being achieved out of this is to just try and maintain the total number of votes that had been casted. They also say, as they were quoting some of the affidavits from a couple of people, key among them Arnold Oginga, saying that they were also able to see discrepancies in the number of votes or in the number of statistics and numbers that were put down in the physical forms 34A and those uploaded in the KIMS kit in about 25 polling stations in Baringo, as well as 15 in Nairobi, saying that the same discrepancies were experienced in about 41 polling stations. They have, after also been able to see a couple of lawyers also representing the same petitioners. Also, we've seen Julie Soweto saying giving the same allegations in regards to this petition. We've also seen Paul Mwangi, whose key submissions, they were then tied into how the chair of the Independent Election Boundaries Commission was able to make the decision without consultation with the other 4 commissioners, who include Juliana Cherera, Irene Masit, Justice Commissioner Nyang'aya, as well as Wanderi, saying that this was in a contravention to Article 138 of the Constitution, saying that Article 138 3C of the Constitution mandates that they are supposed to work together as a commission, but Article 138 subsection 10 is what then mandates the chair of the IEBC to make the declaration. Also, what has come out of these petitions is that we've also been able to see one of the other petitioners, who is John Njoroge, being represented by John Mohammed, whereby they've been able to note one of the regulations to which the chair of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, has relied on in regards to the decision that he had to make to declare the results without the consultation of the other commissioners. This is something that has been noted by a number of senior councils who have made their submissions this morning, including Feroz Norji as well as John Mohammed, who are saying that the Regulation 87 should be struck out and considered unconstitutional, given that it does not match to what is required in the Constitution, whereby the chair is expected to act in cordiality with the other commissioners and rely to Article 138.3c as well as Article 138.10, whereby he is supposed to consult the other commissioners and only declare the results that have been tallied, verified by the other commissioners, and not act as a one-man show, as it had been indicated by some of the commissioners who have also filed the petitions in regards to this petition. In regards to what has happened this morning, it's that we've been able to see now the first petitioner, who is Raila Odinga and Martha Karua, being represented by the 5 lawyers that have been able to mention, including Murgor. And thereafter, we've been also able to see another petitioner, who is John Njoroge, being represented by Jen Mohammed, who has also made his submissions. And now we remain with about 5 petitioners who are also expected to make their submissions this afternoon. And thereafter, who have been allocated about 30 minutes each, given that Raila Odinga and Martha Karua had been allocated 3 hours. And the other petitioner, John Njoroge, was just made his submission through his lawyer, Jen Mohammed, was given 30 minutes. And we were able to see also through her submissions, she was able to say that the Regulation 87 should be declared unconstitutional, and given that it does not rely or match up with what is required in the Constitution. And also she was able to say that the chair, Wafula Chebukati, it shall be declared by the Supreme Court that he should not be allowed to hold any public office in regards to how he has been conducting elections, previous elections, as well as the just concluded general election. Therefore, we remain with about 5 petitioners who are expected to make their submissions this afternoon. And thereafter, tomorrow, we expect to see the respondents led by the supporting respondents, as they had been mentioned, who have been given 1 hour to share among them, the 4 commissioners to share among them. And thereafter, we'll have the IEBC and the chair of the IEBC, and then thereafter we'll have William Ruto, who are expected to make their submissions tomorrow. And thereafter we'll be able to see a rejoinder from the petitioners, which will happen on Friday. And thereafter, after the rejoinder, then we expect the judges to then go back and write their judgment and thereafter come and declare what they would have determined from the submissions that have been given by the petitioners as well as the respondents. Back to you, Troy.
Thank you, Sarafina Robi, live from the Milimani locus where the Supreme Court is domiciled at the moment, and we are done with the first session, that is the morning session, where the court had granted 3 hours for the main petitioners, and now in the afternoon we are expecting 5 petitions each to be given 30 minutes as directed by the court yesterday during their housekeeping. They are trying to endeavor to make the proceedings neat and tidy. But looking at your screen is one of the rulings that the Apex Court did make yesterday, where it ordered scrutiny and recount in 15 polling stations and boxes to be opened, inspected, scrutinized, and also recounted within 48 hours. We're just slightly shy of the first 24 hours. So we are slightly over 25 hours to get that feedback to the courts. And during the recount, each party, as you have seen, has been represented by 2 agents and a registrar of the Supreme Court. Let's first of all listen in.
0191 402. 0191 402. Next seal 0191 403. 0191 403.
So as per, even as he breaks the seals, as per the PSD, the ballot box that we are looking at was indicated as 27, that's the serial number, 271187, 271187. The seals that were used to close the box at the end of county 1, 019 1401, 019 1401. Then 2, 019 1402, 3, 01 91 403, then 019 1404. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The rest of the numbers are the same. That's okay? Okay, let's now pour the contents. Let's see whether we can be faster. This one. So list of the packages that we have. You can see they are not in a package. So put them together. Those should be the votes that were cast. Not packaged, but they are there. Yeah.
Votes cast?
Yes. Yeah, just record that they are not inside a sealed package, isn't it? An envelope.
These are votes cast.
There are how many rolls? That's 1.
This 1. 2,
3, 4.
3, 4. So they can, this is a bunch. We count each.
No. We'll open. Just put them aside. Let's deal with the next packages.
So this is a used KIMS supervisor validation forms. Oh, okay.
The third one?
Third one is unused ballot paper, presidential. Fourth is used counterfoils, presidential. This unused form 32.
Unused form 32. Mm-hmm.
Unused KIMS supervisor validation form. Next package. Unused tally sheets. Manual register. Governor book booklet, presidential result booklet, unused presidential seals, used presidential seals, stray ballot papers, Form 34 carbon copies.
Okay, so we open
rejected ballot papers.
Wait, how many packages? 8? 14. Okay, so we go one package per. So how all this, let's start with the ones which are not packaged. Let's not open them, yeah. They are counterfoils, yes, okay. Then once we are dealt with the counterfoils, you give to the next team to close, to seal, and so that we are faster.
So when they come, yes, then we'll just take it.
Currently happening there, as you can see, agents from all the presidential candidates there, that is 2 each, just as directed by the court yesterday, together with a registrar of the Apex Court. From the 15 polling stations, we are in box number 3, where they are first of all scrutinizing and recounting them. And of course, after this exercise, what will happen is that they're going to file a report on what has transpired, and that is supposed to be handed to court tomorrow at 2 p.m., which will be about 48 hours since the court ruled or gave directions in regards to that matter. So we are keeping a keen eye on that. And if you ask me where that exactly is from where the judges are, it's around what, 100 meters from where the judges are, because for other houses just adjacent to the Milimani Law Courts. So we are expecting that tomorrow at about 2 p.m. that report will have been filed. That exercise is continuing, and we will keep a keen eye on the same to ensure that you do not miss a thing. But away from Forodha House and the Milimani Law Courts, let's now have a look at some other stories making headlines. A section of civil societies based in Migori County is calling upon the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to set aside funds for voter civic education in the next general election. At a stakeholder meeting in Migori County to evaluate the recently held general election, the CSO said the IEBC performed well overall but fell short on civic education.
Migori County Civil Society Forum chairperson Dr. Tobias Ogola noted that a majority of the electorate got enough education on voting, even though Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission could have done more.
We observe many agents and many key players in the exercise never knew their task. They did not know what to do, especially when it comes to the polling and also observation of what they're supposed to be doing. Some people took advantage of the illiteracy level of some of the voters and misguided them on who to vote for.
His remarks were echoed by Dorothy Monyeri, a resident in Migori County, who observed that more funds should be set aside by the electoral body for voters' civic education in the next general election. Youths in the county were lauded for maintaining peace during the election, with the stakeholders adding that politics should not be a basis for division.
Migori County is peaceful and still peaceful, and we are asking our citizens, the people of Migori, to keep the peace because we have a county and a country to protect, and with peace everything will be ensured.
Jacqueline Masharia for Lunchtime News.
Elsewhere, Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro has sacked 5 county executive committee members and all chief officers in mini changes he made on his first day in office. Mungaro, however, extended the contract of County Secretary Arnold 6 months and gave 4 of the CEC members who served in previous administration additional roles in acting capacities.
Boss, tafadhali. Addressing journalists at his Kilifi town office Tuesday evening, Kilifi County Governor Gideon Mung'aro ordered all the chief officers to hand over their offices to their respective directors, who he elevated to act as chief officers and vacate office by Friday this week.
The new team starts immediately. They start immediately, and the chief officers whose terms have expired have up to Friday 4 o'clock to hand over all the duties they had been handling to the directors who have been appointed as they proceed home.
The 5 CECS members sent on terminal leave include Professor Josephat Kazungu Mwatela for roads, public works and transport, Professor Gabriela Katana Goda for devolution, public service and disaster management, and Mrs. Naida Mohammed for tourism, trade and cooperative development.
County Executive Committee, the following Executive Committee members shall serve as follows. Dr. Anissa Ahmed Omar as the County Executive Committee member for Gender, Social Services, Culture and Sports, and hold brief in the following departments: water, environment, natural resources and forestry.
Others are Kingi Mwachitu for water, environment and natural resources, and Dr. Luciana Juma Sanzua for agriculture, livestock development and fisheries. Mung'aro urged the officers to undertake their duties with utmost diligence and commitment.
And from Kilifi to county number 14, Embu Governor Cecily Mbarire has formed a 6-member task force to come up with proposals and solutions aimed at reforming the ailing health sector in the region. The task force, chaired by retired former Director of Medical Services at the Ministry of Health, Dr. Francis Kimani, according to the governor, has a mandate of 1 month.
Embu County Governor Cecily Mbarire says her priority is to enhance timely and quality service delivery in all public health facilities across the region.
My key emphasis is medical services, public health and public service. The task force has 1 month's mandate to come up with proposals and solutions towards revamping the health sector, providing clean environment in our towns, and reforming our public service in order to enhance service delivery.
The county boss also said her administration had made a commitment to the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority to settle part of the 47 million shillings pending bill left by the previous administration.
We have a debt ya 47 million katika KEMSA, lakini leo tumelipa 35.8. Kwa hivyo we are still left with about 10 million to go. Lakini hii itatuwezesha kupata dawa za kuendelea kutumia.
She appealed to the members of the county assembly, once sworn in, to pass a supplementary budget for additional funding to the health sector. At the same time, Governor Mbarire said her government will begin a cleanup of the entire county spearheaded by the youth.
And away from that, and away from politics, Kisii County Secondary School Music Festival kicked off at the Kisii School with participants from secondary institutions belting out traditional songs from different cultures. Winners in various categories of songs presented in local, English and French languages will proceed to the regional final to be held at Iringa Secondary School in Homa Bay County from September the 6th, 2022. Take a look.
According to Paul Oira, the Joint County Primary and Secondary School Music Festival Secretary, a total of 87 schools are participating in the music festival.
Around 87 schools are participating in this KMF, Kisii County chapter. And we appreciate the teachers and principals for allowing the students to come here.
The extravaganza, which was halted because of the COVID-19 pandemic, helps learners appreciate the diversity of culture through song and dance. Trainer and song composer Philip Anunda is among those who will be proceeding to the regional final after his charges excelled in classes 378C and 818J.
We have performed class 378B and now we have just come out from class 818J, Maasai folk song and Maasai folk dance. Our students are really trained and they are intending to move even to the next level to compete with other students from across the country.
The primary version of the festival will kick off tomorrow at the same venue. Iringa Secondary School in Homa Bay County will host the regional competition next Tuesday, September 6, 2022, while the nationals will be staged at Maseno University in Kisumu County.
Very well, we are due for a fast break at about 10 minutes to 2 p.m., but we still have more. And of course, when this Apex Court judges return to the chambers, then we will be crossing over to the Milimani Law Courts where they are domiciled. But first, let's have that break.
To get Change Your Thinking Skizatune, dial star 811 star 961 hash.
When you change the quality of your thinking, you change the quality of your life. Sometimes instantly, just as positive words can make someone calm, smile or laugh, your thoughts will react to the world in real time. So, change the quality of your thinking.
Dial star 811 star 961 hash. Star 811 star 961 hash.
哪怕海角天涯